What are the various gifts we have to connect with higher vibration and a higher power? And what assistance does your soul offer in developing those gifts? And how else can you develop them?
Welcome to the Angelscapes podcast, where you're encouraged to uncover and develop a direct connection with your soul's power, wisdom, and spiritual intuition that is ready to blossom. We'll explore new ideas, compelling tips, and real steps to help you learn simple spiritual practices. We're a safe place to learn more about accessing your soul's power with education and spiritual wholeness that could bring more clarity to your life. Now here's your host, a practicing medium, Akashic Records practitioner, spirit artist, coach, and mentor, Dr. Reverend Nancy Smith.
Hello, this is Angelscapes, and I'm your host, Nancy Smith. I am with Susan Barnes, and we're going to talk about the gifts that we receive from Spirit before we're born for guidance and nurturing during our human lives. And we want to talk about all the different ways you can develop them. We're also going to present a program that we're offering this summer. And also, we want to talk about how the Akashic Records can help you hear the guidance from your soul and spirit guides and can identify what your gifts are. Welcome, Susan, to Angelscapes. Great to have you on again.
Glad to be here. It's a pleasure.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful. Susan, your hands have been full the past few years, and you do spirit art, you do physical mediumship, you do mediumship. You're very big into the Edgar Casey things. I'd say you're right there being an expert. So, what do you think about spiritual gifts? Now, we talk about developing gifts, but a lot of times we don't talk about what are our gifts, how we can recognize what our specific gifts are.
Well, it's interesting. In the Casey readings, Casey said that there are as many psychic gifts as there are people.
Wow.
I know. So part of it is that, and I'm working with a group right now where everybody has different gifts. And so the conversation is really, really interesting.
So describe anonymously what are some of the gifts that you're seeing? I mean, there's the obvious mediumship or psychic, but I know it's more subtle than that. So
Yeah, I mean, there's somebody that does scrying. There are people that do past life regressions. There are people that communicate with the Akashic Records. There's people that communicate with angels, people that communicate with different kinds of divine entities. Some people do trance, some people don't. Some people are just intuitive.
so and then none of them are wrong or none of them are more or less. They're all a lot of different ways of seeing, and I'm sure they have many different perspectives that all hopefully all lead to one place. But talk to me a little bit about people who speak directly to spirit or spiritual entities. What you have angels, you have loved ones on the spirit side, you have ascended masters.
Well, you have two things there. You have people that call themselves channelers, and there's a lot of people that call themselves channelers. And then I don't call myself a channeler. I'm a trance medium. And the difference is that I don't just channel some entity coming from somewhere. Channelers can channel aliens, they can channel people from Atlantis, they channel all kinds of things. And my feeling is a lot of that can also come from their higher self. It's not
Okay.
just pure spirit communication. Where in trance, you're trying to do a blending. You're trying to do
Yeah.
a blending with the spirit world so that the information coming out is more from the spirit world and less from your higher mind. Although
Yeah.
your higher mind gets in there at some point, and
Yeah.
sometimes there's no way around it.
Well, your higher mind, let's talk about what exactly the higher mind is. The higher mind is not your ego. It's not your, just define the higher mind for us.
Well, I think about the higher mind when I do inspirational speaking because it's trying to get myself into a state where I allow that better part of myself, the better part of my mind, to be able to combine with the spirit world to give through a lecture
Hmm.
or a communication. So when I'm thinking of my higher mind, I'm putting the ego on the side. I'm putting, in some ways, a little bit of my conscious mind on the side so that I can tune in more with subconsciousness. Because the psychic communication, no matter what you're doing, is coming through the subconscious mind. It's not coming through the conscious mind.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and there's different levels that we can communicate with that subconscious mind. Different levels of a trance state.
Well, let's talk about those levels because I feel that that's sometimes where people go to understand where their gifts are, or I'm not going to go there, I'm going to go here, or whatever. What are those different levels?
Well, I mean, on the lowest level, you can be doing psychic work, um, where psychic work, pendulums, dowsing rods, I'm trying to think of all things that the angel cards, all of that stuff that's working on more of an intuitive type of a level. You don't need to be in an altered state, But when you're doing your mediumship, whether you realize it or not, you're going into a slightly altered state if you're truly doing mediumship.
Hmm.
Because you're trying to get those messages to come through to the subconscious mind that you can give to the recipient of the messages. Then, of course, if you're trying to do a trance state, channeling, I don't think is as deep as trance. You're slightly altered state. But when you're in a trance state, you're really trying to go into an altered state where you're at times not even consciously aware of what you're doing. And then, of course, you have the complete state where you're completely out. I mean, Edgar Casey was completely
Really
out.
out. Right.
Yeah. Physical mediums are completely out. Um, uh, Trance mediums, there's varying degrees to that. You can be completely out or you can be partially out. And you can control it too. I mean, a lot of people don't want to be completely out.
Right. They're very uncomfortable with the
Yeah,
idea
they're
of
very comfortable with that
turning
idea.
over.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't remember a lot of things what happens to me when I go into a trance state, it's interesting. When people ask their questions, I might come out of it a little bit, but then when I'm giving the answers, I don't remember any of the answers.
Mm, I love that's when you know you're
Generally,
right. Yeah.
yeah. So I generally don't remember. I might get a taste of what the answer was about, but I mean, when I go into a trance state, and I've done this, I've gone into trance states and done question and answers for 45 minutes to an hour. I'm totally unaware
Wow.
of that time passing or what's being said or how long it's being said.
Do,
And then when I'm doing it too, there's transfiguration going on as well.
So let me ask you this, though. The transfiguration is amazing. I've sat and watched you do the transfiguration. Um, can you identify? I suppose you don't know what you've been saying. I don't know if it's been recorded and you listen to it, but in watching other people do this work, if you had gotten messages or inspired speaking from one person and then they went into the trance, then they give you the information. What's the difference between the information that you're getting?
The difference? Well, I'm more consciously aware in inspired speaking. I mean, the inspired speaking is truly a combination of me with the higher state, where in the trance, it's the higher state.
Okay.
I'm not trying to I mean, they may use some of my knowledge because they're using my mind, but with the inspired speaking, it'll roll, but there'll be more moments where I'll be aware of kind of the direction it's going in and what's happening, and then
Yeah.
I'll just let spirit flow in with the information that
Right.
I want to say. Um,
Right. Right. Do you, I know you said you don't remember the information, but is it different topics when it's spirit coming in or whatever the ascended master, whoever's speaking, they have their own topics, their own agendas. What do, do they talk
some
about?
do,
Yeah.
but I also allow them to ask questions. Usually what'll happen is someone will come in and maybe give an introduction to it, and then people ask questions, and I have no idea And then sometimes it's different people that come in to answer the questions too.
Yeah. Are the questions more philosophical or theological questions, or they're like more typical, more mundane, or am I going to get a new job question or something like that?
They'll try to do both. They'll try to do.
Okay.
I try to ask them to do something that's a little more philosophical. I mean, a little more that's trying to give them everybody some insight rather than, am I going to get this job tomorrow type of thing, because that type of thing is
Well,
more
more psychic. That
more
those
psychic. Yeah,
Yeah. So that less psychic questions, more philosophical questions when you're in a deep trance.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what some of the other gifts that you've seen in your students unfold?
I'm trying to think of all of the ones that we're dealing with now. Varying degrees of psychic and mediumship. I'm at a point now in my work where when I'm with a group of people, it's funny, I was just with a group of people and all of a sudden they started asking me psychic questions. And I had to say to them, hold those questions, let me finish doing my mediumship stuff. And then I had to shift gears and totally change mindsets to go in and do the psychic questions.
Well, that's interesting. Talk. I have that same one experience when I'm in a mediumship state, and then people are wanting to know the psychic stuff. It's too. It's like I'm shifting to a new part of my brain. Describe that. What's going on?
And it's interesting, there's a physical thing that happens too. I don't know if you're aware of it, that when you're doing mediumship work, you're backing away from the person, but when you're doing psychic work, you're moving into them. So I had to say, okay, now let's do the psychic work, and then I had to kind of like move into their energies, which is the difference. You're moving into their energy rather than the spirit energy.
Yeah, the spirit energy is you're talking to another intelligence. You're talking to another thought process. I think sometimes people don't quite sitters. I'm talking about sitters when they're sitting for you, and they're not necessarily grabbing hold of the difference between mediumship and psychic, and letting the medium move into that mediumship energy is you could be patient with the medium. Is the sitters need to give some space for that. It doesn't come on like that. Psychic may come on like that. But shifting back and forth is something when the sitter needs to be aware of. You're asking the reader to shift back and forth. It's a I have to say no, wait, like you said, wait a minute. I'll let you ask questions once I know the link is strong, because I want the answers to come from, if dad, mom, or dad, or grandmother is there, and sometimes mom or dad, grandmother's like, sorry, I got nothing for you. They're not going to reveal, or the answer's not there. And if I end up dropping in psychically or sometimes I'll just shift over to their guides, which is another intelligence. And I'm still in the mediumship brain, but I find it interesting. It's definitely a different discipline being a
But
medium.
then here's what happens with the mediumship readings. I know in England they have two different types of mediumship readings. They have the evidential readings, and then what am I blanking on it? They have the readings where you're asking people questions about your own mediumship.
Assessment. Are they called
Assessment, thank you,
assessment?
thank you.
Yeah.
The assessment readings are the mediumship readings. Now with the assessment readings, I go to the spirit guides.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and in fact, in some assessment readings, I've actually gone into slight trance state.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yeah. Can relate to
But
that.
not with the mediumship readings, that doesn't happen. Then I'm usually just trying to connect with the spirit entities.
Yeah. Do you always know where the information is coming from? I feel like you're driving the car. You always need to know where you're driving.
Yes, and I mean, I don't always know which spirit it is. I mean, I know it's a spirit entity, but sometimes what happens is that the spirits that I work with are in groups. There's like always there's a collective of people with a spokesperson. So sometimes they want to give you their name, sometimes they don't. I just was in the last seance I did, I was asking for my guide, because usually when you're doing physical work, because some my work borders on physical mediumship as well, um, you have a control person. So I wanted to know who my control was. So the control did come through in the last seance.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's
Identify
wonderful.
themselves.
Yeah.
I think her name is Isabel, as I remember.
Does Isabel come through when you say she's the control? Is she the one that's always coming through, or is Isabel the one who's managing you and your energy and your connection?
In a physical seance, the control manages the medium and
Okay.
what's going on,
Okay.
usually what's going on. And they will ask people to do things, or they'll say, turn up the lights, turn down the lights, or give some indication on what they want done, yeah, during the
Okay.
seance. So they
So
kind of work.
there's a few guides working with you or working with the reader in the seance. Sounds like.
Well, there's usually the control, which is the main thing, but then when I've done trance work, there's a whole cadre of people that have come through, and usually I know who it, kind of from past experiences, know who it is, know which one it is
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
come
That's
through.
really cool. That's really cool. That's wonderful. Um, let's talk a little bit about this events that's coming up starting June 15th through the 19th. And I wanted to have you list all the different things we're covering. So it's called the Body, Mind, and Soul. Um, so
Exactly. So the way I set it up was, first day was body, second day was mind, third day was soul, and the last day was a combination of all. Was the
nice.
way I envisioned it. So with body, I actually, believe it or not, was thinking about all the physical mediumship, and the physical things. So there's a class on transfiguration, and there's a cabinet class with Lisa, um, and I think the mediumship class is on clairs, the different clairs.
Claire's. Okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
clairs of the body. So that's it. And the mind part, and I think the Akashic records come in the mind part. The mind part is mediumship. I believe oh no, it's not it's the remote viewing.
So remote
Remote
viewing. Yeah.
remote viewing, it's the mediumship, and I'm blanking on the third one. Oh, I know.
Um,
The third one is the Ghostbusters. The,
Ghostbusters. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I said,
And, yeah. Medium. And then Akashic Records and the remote viewing spirit, the spirit art. And then there's a bunch of Lisa is teaching a lot of physical, and then there's Teresa or Terry, who's
Terry's doing all the mediumship.
she's doing all the
Terry's
mediumship.
doing all mediumship. Yeah,
Okay,
she's the minister, or she's the head of the Spiritualist Church in Norfolk, Virginia.
okay, Virginia. Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so she's bringing some people up from Virginia, which is going to be great. Yeah, body, mind. Let me go to the last thing. Body, mind, and for soul, that's where we got the Akashic records.
Okay,
Yeah, we got the Akashic records there in the soul part of it. And I believe I have a Casey piece in that too, with soul communication.
okay,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And also each day includes three different classes based on body, mind, and soul. And with an evening where we're gonna have some Victorian tea and tarot. Are we still gonna do that?
Now, the interesting thing about the evenings this time, from other conferences, this time everybody's participating in the
Okay.
evening
Big.
events.
Okay.
The evening events are designed for people to be active in doing things. Um, you, the first night, what did I say we're going to do the first night? Now we're going to do an art demonstration the first night.
Yes. Yes.
We'll do an art demonstration, and I'm pretty sure we're doing the table tipping. I think we're doing the table tipping then too. And then there's a night where we're going to do mediumship, but then everybody's going to participate. I'm going to do the speed mediumship thing, where we get a big circle and everybody shifts every few minutes to try to get
That's
connection,
fun. Yeah.
which is fun. So yeah, there'll be some things for that. And then the one night will be a ghost hunting night. Now
Beautiful.
with the ghost hunting, what you have to say is we're trying to get the buildings in Lilydale. Now, what's unique about this is Lilydale's had a lot of ghost hunters. A lot of them people have showed up. But these people don't ghost hunt Lilydale. They don't go around to the buildings and with all their equipment and check for spirits in the building. So we're trying to do the hotel, the auditorium, the stump at least. And I don't know whether we'll get to the auditorium or to the assembly hall, but those are our target places to go to see if we can find spirit connections there. So
The hotel, I know it's really active. Everybody who is, I haven't stayed in the hotel yet, but anybody I know who stays in the hotel go, wow, there was stuff going on. So that would be amazing. I have a question that I hear often. This is a frequently asked questions. The difference between mediumship and connecting with spirit in a mediumship reading and the difference between the ghost hunting. Are they different? Are the ghosts and the spirits that come through mediumship, what's going on
are
with,
the spirits different?
yes, are they?
Well, I think that what happens with ghost hunting is that you can get earthbound spirits. Now, there's a difference between earthbound spirits and spirits that are in the heavenly realm. Now, when we do our mediumship, and this is my perspective on it, others may disagree.
I know.
My perspective is that when we do mediumship, we are dealing with people in the heavenly realm. Now, people in the heavenly realm know they're deceased. People who are earthbound may not.
Oh, so the heavenly realm knows that they're deceased, but
Yes,
the earth realm they may still be walking around thinking something's wrong, but I'm here, I'm alive. Okay,
something's wrong, but I'm not sure what it is yet. They
okay.
they haven't totally acknowledged that they're in they've deceased. They're in that heavenly realm. Yeah. So
Oh,
that's why that's why they have to have all those people doing rescue things. And it's either that people may not know they haven't passed, or they may not want to pass on to the heavenly realm for some reason. For example, a typical reason is if somebody was brought up in one of those religions where they told you only 12 people were going to the heaven and the rest were going to hell, um, the people who, when they pass, they have this idea that, oh, I'm going to hell. I don't want to go to hell. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go into the light. I'm not gonna pass.
because the light's gonna be painful. It's gonna be
Yeah,
the,
I'm
yeah,
not gonna go into the light because that's not where I want to be.
yeah.
So yeah, so there could be there's a bunch of different reasons why people might be earthbound. Sometimes it's because they are stuck because they wanted to take care of somebody here on the earth plane.
Okay,
You
yeah.
know, they lost they died and they have children or whatever on the earth plane, so they don't want to really pass on into that heavenly realm.
Oh, right. They want to stay with the family or stay with the.
Exactly.
Now, I also have brought people through spirit through who had human lives from the heavenly realm who are very much connected to their families here, but they're still in the heavenly realm. They know what's going on, but they're. I feel like they're speaking from the heavenly realm. Now,
Yes,
there's
yes.
a big difference with somebody who's stuck, who hasn't, I guess, ascended or moved to heaven.
It's
Um,
been okay. It was in my experience. There was somebody that a friend of mine. There was an orb in a building, and so we went in to try to see what was going on. And the sense we got was that it was a spirit. It was a Native American spirit because it had been in Native American land before we built up on it. And that spirit didn't understand that their family had all passed on into the spirit world.
oh, oh,
So what happens is they're kind of trapped. Some of them are kind of really trapped in a void, so they don't really know what's going on. So if they know what's going on with their family, then they're in the heavenly realm because they can see what's going on. But some of these people trapped in this in between kind of place, earthbound, don't know what's going on at all. They're kind of clueless, and
oh,
so
that's sad.
we
Yeah.
just explain to the spirit that hey, your whole family's on the light on the other side, and we got the spirit to leave. Hasn't been back.
Yeah. Has it been back? Okay. Because some spirits are there because they're there because they have a message, and but they're
But
and
there's also kind of residue. I don't even call it, and it's not exactly
yeah.
spiritual residue. There's also kind of physical residue from
Mhm.
events and things. Like I
Yes.
think a lot of stuff like in Gettysburg and some of that stuff there is probably residue from the events that went on there. And when I say residue, I mean there's a sense that there's an event that keeps repeating itself over and over and over again.
Yeah, the energy is
The
still embedded
energy,
in the
yeah,
land.
the
It's
energy's
still stuck in.
trapped there.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
that's not quite a spirit and that's not quite a ghost.
But the spirit, the ghost hunters can pick up that energy.
Right. So the ghost hunters can pick up all of these energies that are in a particular place. And I don't know whether they really try to pick up with somebody on a mediumistic level, although some of them do bring mediums in.
Okay, yes. Some of them don't like mediums, some of them work with them. It's all
Some do,
different.
some don't. Yeah. I mean, they obviously might try to bring a medium in to figure out what had happened in a space or what was going on. Um, yeah, so it's still different, but a spirit that's kind of haunting a place or stuck in a place
Mhm.
is usually probably an earthbound spirit.
Earthbound spirit. Um, I've always wondered about earthbound spirits. I've been on the border with them. Is it Earth? What happened? Like, didn't their guides come in? Did they ignore their guides? How did they get stuck on the Earth in the earthbound plane when there's so many helpers in spirit?
Well,
How?
yeah, but you have to realize that what happens to you in the spirit world is based on your consciousness because um, the way Hewlin Casey described it is that there are three consciousnesses. There's the superconscious, which is the spirit world. There's the subconscious, which is your soul mind or soul energy. And then there's your consciousness, which is your everyday consciousness.
Mhm.
So when you die, your soul mind becomes your mind.
Oh,
So the soul mind is what's really existing in the spirit world, not your conscious mind per se. Um, so it all depends on what you think and what you construct, because thoughts are things. So however you construct it for yourself is what's going to happen to you on the other side.
yeah, yeah. I see. I see. Well, that's really fascinating.
So I think some people get stuck. And there's a wonderful book, The French Connection. I don't know if you know that book.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
wonderful book because in there it's all the last woman's last name was French. She was a trance medium.
Okay.
There's wonderful accounts in there of people after they pass over. And she was the one that gave an account of an earthbound spirit. And she said the way the earthbound spirit knew to move into the spirit realm was when someone they knew who had passed came to get them.
Oh.
So that if I'm stuck and they're stuck in a void, it's like a void.
Hmm.
They're in a void as a kind of dark voidish space. So if I'm in that space and my grandmother comes and knocks me on the shoulder and says, "No, you got to move into the higher realm," you know that they're past, so you can move into that higher realm with them.
Oh, nice. Well, there's a lot of stories on deathbeds. The end of life where loved ones have been there, and the person who's still here still is in transition will start to talk about my sister's here or my mother's here, or they'll talk about who in spirit is around them. Not always, and I always thought those were the helpers that to help them move forward, or they're seeing heaven or somehow.
Yeah, they're seeing heaven and they're seeing their loved ones. But if I'm terrified of dying,
Well, that's another thing.
I'm
Yeah.
terrified of dying, am I going to see my loved ones? I don't think so.
No. Well, that's another common thing to happen during the end of life transition is this fear, this restlessness and the fear, and I don't want to let go, and it's a struggle for everybody in the family. I would love to have more conversations on giving people skills to help them with that,
Yeah.
but do those people, because a lot of times my sitters will come and they'll say, she was really struggling. I need to know she's okay now. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, if you can connect with her on a mediumistic level, then you know she's okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If I can't connect with her, or if a medium can't connect with her at a mediumistic level,
And what I would say, then the thing I say at that point is, and it doesn't even matter how long they passed, is that when people pass, they go into healing. They go into a place of healing. She could still be healing.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't like leaving people with some. Well, she's haunting the warehouse where Frugal Fanny's used to be, and that would be just horrible to hear that. And I don't know how that we would actually know that, but I feel oftentimes the guides just are still working with them, and
Well, I think they are, but then how many people really depend on their guides or are aware of their guides, when they're on the earth plane?
well, we aren't that aware, but I know that we have guides helping us without our awareness. I was, if you have somebody who is transitioning, their guides are still with them. I feel like,
Yeah, but you have to realize that if a person has a mental block, those guides can't do much.
hmm, well,
It's all our minds. It's all
yeah,
based on our minds and how we perceive things, which is what's going to happen to us. So,
yeah. It's always amazing when somebody will come through a medium and they'll be very articulate and they'll say, "This is the last thing I ever believed in. This is the last," or they'll come into a church service and say, "This I would never have walked into one of these churches ever, but I'm here," and that's always fascinating, interesting, and comforting for the person, the sitter receiving the information. But yeah, the idea that mom doesn't come through doesn't mean it just means that mom didn't come through. Um,
or the
and
other thing is mom could be busy.
mom's busy.
They
Mom's in the
have jobs
healing
on the other
place.
side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I find I get host. Um, there'll be grandma is a really good communicator, and I feel like sometimes she just says, "Come on over here and talk to your daughter." She'll be bringing spirit through. Um, I've had that happen. Have you had that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, the host.
Yeah, where one person brings another one through.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. So they're there, but they need a little help in hand. So
Right.
it's so many gifts, so many other things. So we're looking at different ways to connect, but in this going back to the symposium, the week long, it's almost a week long symposium of people coming in to learn where their gifts are. Some people are coming in to find out, is this real? Some of them are coming in, where's my gifts, and how can I develop them? And I think a big conversation has been throughout this, do you need a teacher? And is it helpful to have people read lots of books? But the teaching and the experiential learning is really important for
Well,
uncovering your
I
gift.
look at it this way. I mean, I'm giving people an opportunity to experiment and kind of test the waters and see
Yeah.
what works for them and what doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Where do you land with this? Where's your where you're feeling comfortable, or where your interest is probably where your gift is what my thinking is. But the more you expose yourself to these different I don't want to call them phenomena and make them into, but these different ways of uncovering your superpower and meeting spirit with your superpower is very important. And sometimes a facilitator or a teacher is really helpful. Or sometimes you can learn something and it doesn't hit home until another year later. But you've planted some
Yeah.
seeds, you've exploded, you're exploring something to allow it to even unfold later. I didn't tell you this. I don't know if I told you this, because I sat in the class last year. I was a student in the class. we did a lot of physical mediumship. I observed it, and then we participated in it, in the different cabinet sittings and whatever. And then a few months later, I started to see physical phenomena in my house. So I was like, "What is going on?" And then a friend said, "Didn't you kind of study physical phenomena in last summer?" I was like, "Well, I guess I did." So it's kind of coming up now.
Well, you're not the only one. I get a bunch of physical phenomena in my house too.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
It is.
always different.
It's interesting. Now, I want to ask the right questions and don't go down too many rabbit holes because spirit talks to us. There's lots of different kinds of spirits on the other side, and they have lots of different kinds of messages and different ways of communicating. So we have guides. We talked a little bit about ascended masters. We talked about teachers in spirit. We will talk more about that when we do the Akashic Records. And then there are the loved ones. I remember somebody saying, I think somebody's trying to contact me. There's a spirit around me, and I'm not sure what they're saying, but am I in trouble? They're trying to. I said, no, they just want to tell you. Well, and then I'll ask spirit, what you're knocking on their door. What was the message? Because they can't quite grasp the message. And if you have that going on, this would be a very good symposium to take. Spirit's always talking to us.
Yeah, and I always say that when that happens, who comes into your mind? Who does it remind you of? And maybe they're just trying to say hello.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, if it's you know, grandpa or dad coming through and you've been trying to figure out money issues and that's been they know they know about it, or sometimes a teacher or a philosopher will want to come through and kind of, do you see, you're trying to understand this, let's teach you more about this. So that could be that. I see that a lot with my students or with myself. The spirits around, what is it you want to know? And then sometimes animal communication, totem animals. I get a lot of messages through nature. I don't know if we're going to cover this in the symposium, but
No, I haven't done animal communication. Um, I have a friend who's an excellent animal communicator, and I'm just kind of tip of the iceberg on that one. Yeah, I'm starting to get some. Since my dog has died, he's been helpful to me bringing through different people's animals.
yeah,
So, but it's mostly pets. It's not people's totems.
yeah, I have because I haven't had a lot of pets in my life. I've had a lot of connection with people, animals in the nature. So birds, I get a lot of messages through birds, and sometimes I'll see little tiny animals jumping around, which is making me sending me a message. Can you pay attention to this aspect? Just like Steve Farmer and Ted Andrews, I think are the two names that talk about what these animals could mean, what they're bringing into your life. But I have actually had communications through, I would go on a hike, and one little something or other would show up and talk to me the whole time I'm going on the hike. And I'm like, well, what are you telling me? They're usually either telling me, heads up and pay attention to this, or they're just talking philosophy, or they're just like, let's have a good time together. But it's usually spirit talking through them. And I know that our loved ones can communicate through those animals. And I don't know why I went down this rabbit hole. Maybe somebody needs to hear it, but um, the signs in nature speaks to us. Spirit speaks to us through that. And let's see. Um, what else do you want to talk about this symposium to draw people in?
Well, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we do have fun stuff too. We are doing tarot. We have Lisa's going to do a tarot class. Plus, we're going to do a tarot evening. So we'll do tea leaf readings with tarot readings, which will be fun.
Oh, that's a lot
Um,
of fun. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's a lot of fun. And I'm trying to remember all the other things we're doing. Uh, but it's very active. You're going to be busy from morning till night. We have stuff going on from we have stuff going on from 9 in the morning till 9 at night, and then afterwards there are some other events that go on at 9 o'clock. We have uh, We have some ghost hunting events that we're going to keep doing and things.
It's gonna be everyone's gonna be worn out. It's gonna be very a full, full plate, full basket of stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's full. Yeah, you won't you there's no downtime in the whole event really. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hours, a couple hours here and there, but no real
yeah,
downtime.
yeah. One of the things that I'm gonna bring out that you had asked me to is the remote viewing. I just wanted to just talk a little bit about this is a procedural. It's based on the army of what the army did for remote viewing, and it's very left brain, right brain, and training yourself how to pay attention to intuition using procedures. Some people will get psychic stuff will work and it's very loose and intuitive and organic, but sometimes people need that procedure. They'll need that structure. So that's we'll have a couple hours from me from that too, and a little bit of talk of how the army that are they really did use psychic spying back in the day. Russians versus the Americans, and there's a lot to know about that and psychic spying as well as and this is something to go into later, but actually the psychic energy that was used or captured to make other people sick or to make other people forget things or struggle, and that was part of the psychic spying story. I don't know if you've heard that, but
Not really. I hadn't heard that part of it, but I
yeah.
mean, from a spiritual perspective, though, isn't that a little unethical?
That was yeah, well see, that was unethical. And energy is neutral and can and as you get power understand the nature of the energy, you could use it in different ways. And yes, it was very unethical. And so skills had to be developed for protection. So to set up a shield and protect yourself. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and this is maybe where some of the people get obsessed with protection. I
Yeah.
mean, I have an Edgar Casey protection prayer that I use now, which I like very much because it's all positive,
Yeah.
all
I
positive.
yeah. The protection that I love, and I got to grab a hold of that prayer from you because I love those kinds of prayers when it's a positive prayer. The most powerful protection is the grace of God, is unconditional love, is staying in that place. It's nothing can stick to you with when you're in that power of unconditional love.
But then being in conditions of unconditional love is also what helps to increase your psychic abilities.
Yeah. Say that again. The being in unconditional love.
Being in your life, turning your life into unconditional love and treating
Yes.
others with unconditional love helps your soul, which helps to develop your psychic abilities.
And yeah, you're specific. Absolutely sitting in that power of love outside of the busyness of the day and really getting that peace, that flow that's always there for us. Yeah, that's going to override a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the piece with also I wanted to add into that I found last year was the loving um, environment we were in that we were learning in, and each teacher brought to all of the students was that sense of unconditional love, that sense of divine presence. It was lovely. I totally loved it.
And the other thing that's nice is that it's right before season in Lilydale, so we basically have Lilydale to ourselves.
We do. Yeah. Walk around, explore the beautiful lake, explore the stump. There've been a lot of viewings. A lot of spirits have been spotted just by being.
Ferries, go on the ferry
Fairies.
trail.
I was on the fairy trail and I got dusted last year. Purple dust on my hands and my legs. It was amazing.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was. stunning, and was not expecting it at all. And Homa went, "What's this purple stuff all over me? What did I get into?" And then he told somebody about it, a few people about it. They said, "You were dusted by the fairies." It's terrific. Um, so there's a lot of experiential things in the program, and then just being in Lilydale itself, there's a lot of experiential things. And since it's several days and several nights, you you have a beautiful continuity of unfoldment will happen. It's a beautiful program. I think it's this last year that you can take a break for next year. So I really wanted to recommend that if you can go, please come, and don't miss this opportunity at all. It's one of those rare events.
Oh yeah, and I would just say that we cater to people on all levels.
True. Yes.
We have people there that are experienced mediums, and we have people there that are novices. So it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what level you're on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, as a student, I didn't. Each teacher hit us wherever we were. There was no, this one's beginner, so I can't go forward. This one's too ahead of me, so I can't. It's none of that happened. It was leveled out very nicely.
Yeah,
Very.
I mean, everybody's going to try the experiments, no matter what level they're on, and they'll do whatever their ability. And I mean, that's the way I teach, is that I just accept people for whatever their abilities are and whatever they feel comfortable with. I would
Yeah.
never make anybody do anything they didn't feel comfortable with.
Yeah. Sometimes people step back and they were observers. Let me just watch this and let me think about it for a while. And other people were jumping in, both feet. It was terrific. You could go to lilydaleassembly.org. Their calendar is up now, and you can find it under event and details. I think it's might be on the front page as well,
On the
but
front page.
yeah, it's on the front
It's
page.
towards
So
the top of the front page, yeah.
yeah, so lilydaleassembly.org, and you can sign up for the for this event, this symposium. But you can also on the Lilydale site is they have all the B&Bs, all of the
And the other
hotels.
thing I'll just add is you can do a day pass. If someone
Yeah.
can't come for the full 4 days, or they're only interested in one topic, they can come for a day pass.
Absolutely. Yes, and there's a lot of an area, area outside of Lilydale. There are hotels and beds and breakfasts as well. There's a lot of resources. If you're not quite sure, the resources will be on lilydaleassembly.org that you can kind of scroll through and read. So don't get overwhelmed. It's easy to book. It's easy to come. And it's designed to be easy, and it's very friendly environment. Very friendly environment. There's a lot of Lilydale, but it's just lovely. It's warm, and there'll be plenty of people there to show you around, and lots of there's a couple little cafes. Well, you could eat, plenty to eat, and
Mhm.
but anything else you want to add? I feel like this program is just so amazing in terms of helping you to recognize where your gifts are.
Only other thing I was going to say is that people who've come in the past have gained friendships with other people
Yes.
that we're still continuing today. I mean, I have a whole group of people that I've met from the conferences that I'm still interacting with and doing things with, and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So as well, same thing. I think you've been in Lilydale way more than I have, but I still am talking to those people I met last year, some of them, and they've been great.
So it
Um,
is. There's a lot of camaraderie, which is nice, very nice, and the people are nice.
yeah. So even if you don't make it to this particular session, do it's a nice introduction to Lilydale to come anytime. They're open from again, we're the week ahead, and then after that it'll be open until Labor Day.
Reopening, and the Tibetan monks are coming the following weekend.
Yeah, they are. They do a beautiful ceremony. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you want to talk about with spiritual gifts and exposing yourself to teachers and experiences?
I would just say be aware of your own intuition. For those of you who are not aware of any spiritual gifts, be aware of your own intuition because that's telling you all kinds of spirit messages.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you start start listening to your intuition, and then the next little thing will open up, and then the next thing
Right.
will open up, and all of a sudden you're on a path.
That's
And
right.
yeah,
That's right.
and we're all meant to be on that path.
That's
There's
true.
nobody is meant to be excluded from that path. So it was terrific talking to you, Susan. I can't say enough. Get people to open up and try these new things. So I think we've said all we can say. I think we could probably talk another hour, but there'll be a lot of things happening that week.
Exactly, exactly. And a lot of different, I mean, and it's diverse, it's very diverse. So, um, it's a whole potpourri of different types of spiritual, exercises for you to try.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a rare event. So please do take the time to see, can you make it?
Yeah.
Is
And
this,
it's a rare opportunity because
yeah,
where else can you try all these different things?
exactly, exactly. So then this is the last of its kind for a little while. So please jump in, guys. Don't miss this one. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, Nancy at Angelscapes, or you can message Susan Barnes is on Facebook as well, under Susan Barnes. That's how I found you. And any questions, just message us, or and I'm at angelscapes.net if you need to. And Susan, you can contact me through there. But Susan, what's another way people can contact you?
Spiritartgallery@gmail.com.
So spiritartgallery@gmail.com. Reach out if you have any questions for Susan, and Nancy at angelscapes.net. And we're both on Facebook Messenger, and we'll be looking for our messages. So for now, guys, I want to really invite you to open up to your own personal gifts that Spirit has. Spirit is talking to us in lots of different ways, and it's our gifts as they open up that really start to hear those messages. So I want to encourage you, especially in these times where so many things are changing, so many new thoughts are coming around, and Spirit will guide us through all of that if we open up our intuitions to the highest power. So thanks again, Susan, for coming on, and many
My
blessings to
pleasure.
you and to all the listeners. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining the Angelscapes podcast. We hope you've gained new insights and inspiration for your journey to uncover and access your soul's power. For more information and a deeper dive into finding clarity in your life, go to angelscapes.com. Remember to subscribe so you can be part of the discussion. It may just change your life. See you next time.